Good morning. Welcome to our service or our film production, whichever way you see it. I welcome you here at the tag end of the pandemic into a place of comfort, but also into a place of challenge. And I welcome you to a place where the deep concerns that we all carry may be recognized and laid openly before that we conceive of as the highest reality. So I welcome you in this time of change and this time of turmoil. Welcome as always to the seat of the unchanging reality where sorrows can be transmuted into understanding and where love has both its source and its destination. Welcome to every one of you, and welcome to all of you watching from a distance. Welcome to your spiritual home. So let the flame of our chalice this morning be a symbol of the warmth and the brightness of our connections. This flame lights our way back together again from wherever we've been, from our newly isolated lives, and it lights our way forward into a whole new season of promise and renewal. We're not allowed to sing still. Law can sing because he's way up here with me. However, we're going to play 3 hymns now this morning, and we'll start with one of our favorites. So if you want to sing quietly to yourself into your mask, do that. Nobody will ever know. Number 24, Come Sing a Song with Me. Lovely. Let's sing that sometime this year. This is Maya Angelou talking to us now, and I consider her words to be particularly significant, not just in terms of the political situation we're facing, nor of the world conflict that's raging all around, but also from the damage done to us all by isolation and illness. This is from a long poem called "The Rock Cries Out to Us Today." I am the tree planted by the river, which will not be moved. I, the rock, I, the river, I, the tree, I am yours. Your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, and if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon the day breaking for you. Give birth again to that dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palms of your hands, mold it into the shape of your most private need. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for new beginnings. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward. It offers you space to place new steps of change. And here, on the pulse of this fine day, you may have the courage to look up and out upon me, the rock, the river, the tree, your country, no less to Midas than the mendicant, no less to you now than the mastodon then. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply with hope, good morning. Good morning, Maya Angelou. I'm going to ask Lal if he'll do a song for us now. Will you? Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, will you set me up? I'll do that. Thank you. Yeah, can you all hear me? I was telling Art, I've been thinking recently. Yeah. Sorry. I've been thinking recently, this last couple of weeks, about dreams. I don't know why, but I remember seeing a film, South Pacific, years ago when I was a youngster. And this lady says, you know, you've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how you're going to have a dream come true? And dreams come about into people's minds. Again, you know, the American dream, the big, you know, thing that people would like to achieve, the dream. And then this little pop song recurred. I heard it on the radio. I used to know about this song 40 years ago, sung by a group called the Springfields, the Island of Dreams. So I thought I'll just play that for you because it's on the same subject, dreams. Everyone's got different dreams, but their dreams are there. They're important, an important part of life. I know I've got one or two friends who get sort of communications through dreams. I don't. I wander the streets mad rushing crowd. Please carry me with you. My thoughts ever stray to those last sweet embraces there on the beautiful island of dreams. There on the beautiful island of dreams.
Yeah.
Where'd you have that there?
Yeah. Well, that was good, Lowell.
Something different there.
Yes, I like the idea. How is everybody? Hi, Abby. Hi, Abby's friend. Yeah. Let's take a moment now to sort of calm ourselves. Because now we're going to leave this place and go someplace where we must go, someplace where the heart beckons. So let us take our leave of the false and the misconceived, the camouflaged selfishness of our worthy lives, the dust of cynicism and pointless despair, and the emptiness of fleeting aims. Leaving is easy because we feel the weight of these things. Something has told us that they are not who we are, that they burden us with unnecessary struggle. We would go to where the air is clearer, the vision keener, the love that gives us life more evident. We would step lightly over the obstacles we've set in our own way and move with the grace of children toward that bright source of our lives. It may be that we find there something that we have needed without knowing it. It may be that we shall see something in a different way, and that will give us wisdom. It may be that nothing at all happens, but happens in a new way. It may be that we shall catch a glimpse of peace, of real peace. So yes, let us take our leave. Let us do it now together. Let us go once again into that place where the one true prayer may be found. The prayer that springs from a grateful heart in the good silence. One Spirit known as Holy, we have felt your presence and we are grateful. So let us remember it in all the churning of the days to come. Let that be our prayer this morning. So be it. Inshallah. Shalom. Amen. Our hymn is number 43 in the Purple Book again, and it's called Gather the Spirit. I really wanted to sing that. I think I saw some of you cheating and singing in your mask. Yeah. Don't worry, I won't report you today, this one time. Back in that period of time, which I think one day will come to be called the analog age, like the Iron Age and the Bronze Age and so on, the Stone Age. I fell in love with Greta Garbo. Anybody remember Greta Garbo? Anybody ever seen Greta Garbo? I don't know what happened. I went to a film that was a kind of a retrospective. I was living in New Jersey, and I think I saw every film she made. They were black and white. Anna Karenina, that beautiful face. She's been misquoted lots of times, famously. The thing she's most remembered for is something she didn't actually say. It is, I just want to be alone. Yes. Turns out she was saying that to a group of paparazzi chasing her down the street. I just want to be alone, you know. But people have used it ever since as a kind of a model of wanting to be completely private, wanting to be alone. But we are creatures of our contexts, much more than any of us really realize. During psychological experiments back in the 50s, people were put into sensory deprivation environments in which every attempt was made to eliminate any sort of information from the outside world. They had like soft blindfolds and soundproof rooms. Sometimes you could even float in a tank of salty water exactly at human body temperature. And what they learned about that surprised them. In only a few minutes, most people would become agitated, then panicky, finally have episodes that approached what they thought of as the psychotic. Being conscious without sensing is not something that's easy for most of us. Well, as so often, the results of those experiments were taken over by people who wanted to make ill use of them. If you've ever been a prisoner, no one in this room has been a prisoner, I'm absolutely sure. If you've ever been a prisoner and you want to get out of this prisoner every single bit of information, you don't have to stick bamboo slivers under his fingernails. You don't have to waterboard him. You don't have to put him on a rack. All you have to do is leave him alone in a room and just leave him without any other human contact. After a while, he will do anything for human company, and all you really have to do is ask him what you want to know. It seems that human beings can't live without stimulation from the environment. Well, that's a step too far in this being alone business. But that's why loneliness is more than just the subject of country western songs. For many of us, the idea of being alone, especially if we're at the busy season of our lives, seems like a rare luxury. You say, just some time of my own. Gosh, that's what I really want. But for many people, after friends have died and children have moved away, loneliness is a terrible thing. And the word most often used to describe it is emptiness. Like the laboratory environments of the psychologists, an empty flat can be a place of despair and panic. That's something to think about. Next time you hear me say those words, I always say at the end of the service, to look after one another. From our earliest moments, we try to establish some kind of context for our identities. An infant will clutch something. That's why they have those mobiles hanging above the bed. It's almost as if the infant is trying to anchor itself somehow to the world. The psychologist Melanie Klein spoke of the necessity for mirroring in the first days or hours of a human infant's life. The outward gaze of the child meets the answering gaze of the mother. And this is how we learn that we're not alone in the universe, that there's someone else out there. An infant who is deprived of this experience, and a lot of people are, will rarely develop a healthy personality, says Klein. The world will always seem a cold and foreign place, and mistrust of life might well be the outcome. And other people have pointed out that the jails are chock full of this kind of person. Well, along with this need, there's perhaps even more urgent one than that. That's called the need to be held. When you're an infant, that probably means your mother, though maybe your dad. As we get older, we transfer the process to others. Lovers who literally hold us, family, friends, and children. All of us try to continue the process of anchoring ourselves to the world. We surround ourselves with familiar objects. We attach ourselves to neighborhoods, make relationships that secure our sense of self. We identify with nations, religions, classes, clubs, even football teams. An adolescent is very busy doing this. And it seems that we're all just like little birds, building nests of reality around us and avoiding the loss of self that comes from isolation. We may know intellectually that these nests are all temporary, that the winds of change will one day blow them away, but we avoid thinking about that. We say, not yet, and put another object in place, make another relationship, buy another insurance policy. But sometimes people get a bit too near the edge. They have a look at the chaos and emptiness that you find there in those sensory deprivation tanks, and they crack. R.D. Laing, the Scottish psychiatrist who specialized in schizophrenia, attributed a lot of mental illness to this very phenomenon, seeing too far over the edge. Whatever the cause, disorientation is disorientation. The consequences are the same. But there are ways of looking at losing one's orientation to the world that aren't accidental, but of a careful attempt to dig beneath the world of the senses to the consciousness underneath. You heard of Zen Buddhism. Zen, a very practical sort of Buddhism, employs in its meditation practice techniques that reveal the insubstantial nature of the world. And when practitioners get somewhere, they get to what they call satori, a moment of enlightenment, they appear to see through the world of forms to a reality underneath, sometimes called the clear white light of the void. And there are all kinds of cases of this. Dervish dancing within Islam. William James, a scientist, a brother of Henry James, used ether and other chemicals to try to achieve the same thing. When I was a kid, we practiced breath holding. Did you ever do that? We were told it was dangerous, so we had to stop. You hold your breath until you begin to see spots. You whirl around in circles. It's like being drunk. Carl Jung, that old devil, pointed out that the two words spirit and spirits aren't named the same thing for nothing. They're both attempts to get somewhere else. Many of the great mystics and poets have told us that none of us is really who or where we suppose that we are. That's what they say. It's as if we're once safe and also trapped in this nest of imagined safety that we've built, that we're being held in place by the things that we surround ourselves with. The fact that all of this changes, falls apart, ages, and dies, that's too terrible to think about. Above all, we fear being found alone in an alien universe of spinning free in nothingness. And because we are timid, we rarely muster the courage to look for that which might actually really be holding us. This would be the everlasting arms of the hymn that have held us since our birth, which are not fleeting like everything else around us. But every once in a while, we get this little clue. One day, a few years ago now, I woke up in my bed and had no idea not only where I was, I didn't know who I was. I had an absolute sense of being whole, seeing, hearing, feeling, but no sense of connecting it to anything else. There are scientific names for it. It's aphasia. In my case, it lasted about a few seconds, but it had no scary aspect to it. I asked myself, well, who am I? And I told myself, and I've kept this near me ever since, I am consciousness. I am what consciousness is. That's who I am. I seemed to understand that this consciousness was universal, that it was somehow not just who I am, but who everyone is. And in fact, that consciousness holds, includes, supports us all. For want of a better word, we are held. Anyway, a few minutes later, I was up having morning coffee, worrying about next week's sermon or a credit card bill or something. And my experience had faded. But I was left with an idea that I had asked and answered something more important than I could have planned for. And that feeling has stayed with me for all these years. What it reminded me of was some moments in prayer and meditation. Don't often get there. When I've been close to something I can't describe, but I'm sure you'd recognize. It was an intuition of being at home in the universe, of being held by something or someone that I both knew and yet did not know. And the overwhelming feeling was one of peace. And what that makes me want to tell you is that in these few moments that we spend together on Sundays, and those of you who watch and listen later on, and these few moments, spaces between the ticks of the clock, it is possible to find that you are being held. You are being held by someone or something that is not foreign, but more familiar than your own face in the mirror. And I want to tell you that no one is cut off from the source, just as no limb is not connected to the tree. And I want to tell you that no prayer from the heart is lost in space, but is making a pilgrimage that begins and ends with us, and that we are never really alone. And it makes me want to say, Amen. I think you can leave it like that. It's just 8 bars or something. Any regular attendees of this service will note that there's one element of the service that we've been leaving out for over a year. Any clues? Collection, yes, it's collection. So we can't go around shoving plates in people's faces now because we're all being careful about COVID. But there's absolutely no reason why we can't put a little box. Where's that little wooden box? I think it may be in there. We'll put the wooden box on the table out there so you can put your pennies or pounds or whatever in that, and we'll start again bringing money back in. Has anybody got any news of people they'd like to share? I welcome Ola for the second time in a couple of weeks. Ola's from Nigeria, adding to the international element of our strange little community here. And Abby, you want to introduce your friend? Welcome. Welcome. Well, one thing that hasn't changed is we were going to have coffee after. So, here's one of my favorite hymns, number 22. in the Purple Book. Come, strong God, and walk beside me. Yeah. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Lowell. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for coming. As we have joined together this morning, we now slip gently apart. There are many who need us, and there are plenty of challenges left to face. But let this be the spirit that holds us, this little community of love and hope that we've built together. And for this, may we look after one another. Really look after one another until we meet again. Amen.